I think that drum and bass is probably one of the hardest music genres to make. And I messaged you and I went, your bloody song is like stuck in my head, and you just replied LOL.
I personally think if you're going to go in there with that mentality, you're shooting yourself in the foot. I'm living my dream. It's like so overwhelming because, like I said, it happens so quickly. So you do have to kind of like snap back to reality and reflect.
Find me and Shotter at the Lamb and Flag.
Really? I got an invite to the Lamb and Flag.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I never get like nervous, like at shows, festivals, anything, 30 years plus or whatever. There's been times I have, but that one there, when I come out, bruv, I remember my legs nearly went.
When you're standing there, just before you go on, just take it all in.
SaSaSaS show. Best of the best of the best with the very fresh flow.
Yes, and welcome. Today is Life and Laughter with us, Shabs, Harry. Sorry, I went Shabs, Harry. I don't know what's...
It's all right, man. It's Monday, man. It's cool,
Monday, man.
Catch a blow today.
Yeah, that's
all
right. And we've got an amazing guest with us in the studio today, none other than Goddard. Boy. And you know what? Goddard is a massive supporter of the podcast. And when we've been doing our podcast from the start, you've been one of the... We've had loads of artists message us, but you've been like really intrigued by what we've
I think it was my singing that sealed the deal.
Yeah.
Well,
the pack up your shit and go.
That sealed it.
You know what I mean?
if we can add that in here now, Sam.
Pack up your shit and go.
Cool, thanks.
Could have done it live. But yeah, wicked, man. When we're doing this, it's great to see people like you watching and giving the feedback. It sort of spurs us on because obviously we get a lot of fans watching, but when you see the artists and the community watching as well, it's great for us.
We've got a lot of people within the community watching, and which is great because like we're talking about things that they're interested in or they want to get out there. So big love to everyone who's supporting. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that things. Grab your mate's phone, like and subscribe on their phone, hit the bell, leave a review, 5-star. If it's going to be lower, please don't. Excellent. So Goddard, welcome.
Hello. How are you doing?
Listen, we're all good. What we want to get straight into, as an artist, like drum and bass artist, there's thousands and thousands of drum and bass artists, but very few seem to be able to cross that barrier from being in the underground into the commercial world. How have you've had two as top 40 hits as far as I'm aware, with the Cat Burns Go, which is an absolute classic,
which I covered.
And
Cat, but
and then also the Messy tune with Venby. So how has that been for you?
A bit of a culture shock for sure, because it wasn't like Messi, especially. I didn't actually think it was even going to get radio play because of the narrative. So I kind of went into that thinking it won't get radio play, but I love the songs. It's good. So when it did get played, it was a bit of a shock. Well, it was a huge shock, really.
Did she change the lyrics a little piece for the radio edit?
They definitely played it at least once because I heard it with the original lyrics. Okay. And then the second time I heard it, it changed. So whether they got backlash or what, I'm not sure. But something had to have happened.
The weirdest thing, like for me on that was I'm a Catholic, and when I heard the lyrics, I was like, because like there's certain things you've got to be so careful around, is like religion and things like that. But I woke up the next day and it was stuck in my head, and I messaged you and I went, like, I don't want to swear, but I was like, your bloody song is like stuck in my head, and you just replied LOL. And I thought, as soon as I'm not that type of person that can listen to something and it sticks. Like my missus and my daughter, they'll hear something and they'll be singing it, and I'm like, have you heard this? Oh, it's catchy, isn't it? And it takes me 50 times to catch something, you know what I mean? But that caught me, and I was like, I think this is going to be a big record here. So,
but I think with the Cat Burns thing, I remember hearing you play that on sets. We was going out on that weekend. I think we had some big festival bookings that weekend, and that hook every time was just tearing down the party, man. People were singing that back. It just resonated with people straight away. I think with both songs, they just resonate with an audience, and they captivate an audience in a way that you don't see every day, all day. So you've got two in the bag. So that's quite...
Do you know how hard that is? I've been making music for 30-something fucking years.
He still ain't done it yet.
I never tried to hip a drum or rubber check a tin can.
So quickly,
44.
A brief rundown. How did you get into the scene? Because obviously them tunes make you just pop up and like. Before that, obviously, you've probably been mixing or doing whatever. But how did you get into the drum and bass scene? And
like just from going from like 16 onwards, going to events, and then I kind of fell out of love with it a little bit for about 2 or 3 years. I just kind of, because I was moving around from city to city. I moved to London for a bit. I moved to Manchester. I moved to Leeds, and like every time I was living in a different city with different groups of people, they all had different musical interests. So that kind of led me to having different musical interests as well. But when I did come back, I came back to it just before the pandemic hit, really. Listened to a lot of Polo and Bryson and Monroe. I was really kind of lured in with their sound. And then it just felt right. I think there was a lot of stuff that happened, and it just felt right going back to my roots again. But there was a lot to learn. Like it was just like the mix side of it as well, because it's so technical. And
do you find drum and bass is a little bit like... I was talking to someone at Beatport the other day, and I was saying that when a producer who makes any type of genre makes drum and bass, it's the right tempo, it's got the right everything elements, but there's something that's missing. Yeah. Do you find that I think that drum and bass is probably one of the hardest music genres to make?
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree, 100%.
Because like you can, like it's like me. If I do a hip hop song, I can do the beat, I can do the tempo, I can catch the vibe. But a hip hop man would listen to it and go, "That guy don't make hip hop," or he's not. You can
usually spot it with the drums and stuff like that.
There's something. There's
intangibles in when someone.
That's like the first thing I notice. If I get stuff sent that's been produced by somebody who's probably not used to doing drum and bass, it's the drum sounds that give it away.
It is. It's mad, isn't it?
You notice like, oh, they haven't got certain sounds, because you collect them over the years, don't you? And you just know certain hits that will work. But
it's mad.
So was you doing other genres just out of interest before you kind of stepped back into the drums thing then?
Well, I started on drum and bass, couldn't figure it out because it was too hard. So then I started doing like 4x4, kind of like UK bass.
Okay,
But it was just all for fun, really, man. Like I moved to London and I was doing that kind of sound. And then when I moved to Manchester, I started doing more sort of like house and tech, really, because I was hanging out with people into that music. And it was a bit of again, like a culture shock as well, like going into their rave environment compared to ours. It's very different, but it was also quite like, there's parts of it I quite liked, you know?
So what was when you started come back to drum and bass, what was the sort of turning point? I mean, that kind of made you go, oh, hold on, I want to stick with this. Did you link up with anyone? Because I know you was working with Allstars for a bit. Was they the first label that picked you up?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I was actually going to do it independent. So I just when the pandemic hit, and I had an events company before this, and obviously we lost all our contracts. We used to work with festivals, so it was very seasonal. Yeah.
So obviously we've spoken about this. So. Do you want to explain a little bit more about when you say an events company? Because straight away people might think you were as a rave promoter, but you wasn't.
No, we weren't that. We basically were hired by festivals to sort of go in and create art installations and stage design. So they would come to us and say, we've got a budget of this. We want to put a stage here, or we want to put an installation here. What can you do for us? So we take that information away, create a deck, like, this is what we can build for you. And then if they wanted to do it, we would do it. And the perk of it is you get a free ticket to a festival. So that was great.
So basically the pandemic come along and just basically
wiped that side of things out for everybody.
We were going into our second year, and I was very much like it was me and two of my friends. And they're both tradies, so they were able to keep working. But I was trying very much to like get us booked in as much as possible. We had a load of contracts lined up, but then when that happened, it was just slowly but surely you just realise this isn't going to happen. So when that did happen, I obviously lost that, but it gave me all the time in the world to do music. When before I was just doing it as a hobby, just like, you know, if I got a bit of spare time. So I just kind of just dived in on it and just did it all day, every day.
Did you? What did you do before the Go track that blew up?
So before Go was, I believe, Nicotine, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Nicotine did all right, actually. It got, I think it was all on social media, like I think Don Whiting, he shared it.
Okay.
He played it. That's what happened. And then it kind of spiked up.
Yeah.
And then after that, No, sorry, Afterlife was actually the last one I did before Go. It was Afterlife. Yeah.
But big up Dom, like, but it's mad, isn't it? How, you know, back in the day you'd have to send your music to like radio DJs.
Yes,
now just give it to Dom. He'll cycle. He'll drive around your
Yeah.
city on a bike and make your
certain influence can make your team pop off, man.
Yeah,
he was smashing it,
bro. He's still smashing it. Do you know he's the first? I believe. Quote me if I'm wrong. I believe he's the first British artist to sell out an event in Ireland.
Wow.
Like from drum and bass, yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Now I'm proud of that, being from Ireland. My heritage is Irish, and you.
Yeah.
Hey, St. Patrick's Day is coming soon. Hey. Find me and Shotter at the Lamb and Flag.
Really? I got an invite to the Lamb and Flag. Oh man, this is a first for me.
I thought I'd switch the Lamb and Flag on you.
Get the Guinnesses in, innit?
Yeah,
trust me.
But I forgot what I was saying. Now, 'cause I'm just thinking about the Lamb and Flag. But so it's amazing how. I remember Dom played a track that me and Crossy have done. We haven't even released it yet, but I remember it was so mad because we've done 2 tunes, and this one tune that I would be playing in our sets, and the other tune was a bit underground, and I was like, I don't know if I should play it in the sets. And it's that tune, that the underground one, everyone's going mental for.
It's crazy how things work now. It's a little bit different to the old days, isn't it? Of trying to make a radio record. Sometimes the thing you think isn't going to pop off is the one that just naturally goes mad on the socials.
Crazy.
Man. How do you find things like TikTok and the way sort of record labels are using it and things like that? Because you've kind of benefited from it with the VNB thing, obviously. So how do you feel about it as someone who's kind of benefited from that way of kind of picking up a song and blowing it like that?
It's mad, like how much exposure you can get on that app, because I was like trying to use it. I didn't really know how to use it, and I mean, I'm still learning, but I remember it was when Go came out, and I remember, you know, on Spotify, you can check your, like, the analytics of, like, streams and stuff, and it was live, so I was watching it, and then one day it just spiked like that, but I put that video on TikTok, and then it just kept going up and up, and you can see it on TikTok, and it's just crazy, because like on Instagram, you could post something, and you get, like, just no engagement.
Full change.
I say to people, it's like, to me, it reminds me kind of like a slot machine, because you could just go like that, not get anything, all of a sudden, boof, it's just away.
Are you talking about Instagram or TikTok?
Talking about TikTok.
Yeah. That's a really good analogy.
Illustration, yeah, man.
It's an
Definitely.
analogy about stuttering.
Definitely, man.
Because the thing is you know, you always kind of think, oh, I've got a tune coming out on Friday. How am I going to dance in this video? Do you know what I mean? And like, you just think,
what, you got in the dance moves, are you?
Well,
I missed this.
Yeah, well, it ain't come out yet. It's out next week.
Love that.
I'm not really dancing.
Oh man.
No, but it's mad how, like, you have to. It's like I was in a meeting with a major label the other week, and it was so funny listening to all these like people around the table, and they're all going, right, what we've got to do is, this is trending. Like there's a thing at the moment where you get your parents to feed the chickens, and then you put a drum and bass tune behind it.
Oh, that thing, right,
so
okay.
Like, dun, dun, you got to feed the chickens.
Well, it's quite funny you say this about what they're talking about, how to blow music and stuff, because I clocked it the other day, and I even tweeted it, man. It's like the new trend is to follow the trend.
Yeah.
That is the new trend. It's not to set the trend, it's to follow the trend.
Yeah.
They're saying the new thing is do the chicken. So for this release, we're going to do the chicken thing.
Yeah.
In that voice.
In that voice. That's what I was going to
if it's an A&R, it's always in that voice, because you don't know shit. Sorry, it's the good ones.
There's so many trends, though. I can't keep up with the trends, because there are always these new things like going off.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, if you're always kind of like chasing a trend or doing a trend, you're kind of just sort of, you're going down that rabbit hole of like, you know, just, it's formulaic. Whereas like, I still don't quite know how to approach TikTok. I get a little bit weird about filming myself, and I'm working on it. I'm trying, like, I feel most comfortable when I'm just walking my dog in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But if I've got anybody who's like around, even just one person, start to just overthink, like, oh no, I feel stupid, but you know,
I mean, that's why, guys, you can't see this, but we've actually got him strapped to the chair here. No, but the thing is, I've said this before, and we've spoken about it. You know, there's a lot of artists if you think back in the day, there'd be artists that they'd be quite happily to just sit in the studio and make bangers left, right, and centre. They weren't interested in going out.
Well, especially the sort of producer-led
That's
artists.
what I mean, yeah, that's what I mean.
But yeah, especially the producer-led artists that are more like, you know, the house guys for back in the day. You didn't really know their personalities and they didn't really have to. I mean, now they're a bit more like on stage, they're a bit more animated and stuff, aren't they? And you've got the Steve Aokis who do the pie thing and all that. So they've sort of worked out a way to make it work for them. But back in the days, those house guys who were massive, bro, I didn't really know what they was about as people or anything about their personal lives. They just made those songs that would make the dance light up. Whereas now, you know, people that they're being encouraged and pushed into being more personality led, I guess. In the age we're in.
How does that's quite difficult for someone that feels awkward in front of a camera though. Do you know what I mean? Like if you feel
doesn't feel natural, that's for sure. But
I think that comes across as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you're sort of like, so my new song's out. Do you know what I mean? People can see through that.
I was asked to do a video, and it just because you like. If I'm doing it off my own back, that's one thing. But when you're asked to do it, it feels very forced. Yeah. And you can see it. Yeah. You can see it on the camera. You can see like he's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, which makes other people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it's just got to come up like. For me, it's just got to come across naturally. It's got to.
It's always a natural. When it's natural, it's cool, isn't it? Like it's like some DJs put their hands in the air and do this, and you think sometimes, oh, my man never used to do that. Now he's doing that. His management said a word. You've got to put your hands in the air and make sure you engage with the crowd more. Because my man was like this before. Now he's like,
look at the dinosaur. Look at the dinosaur. That was just a natural moment and things like that. Like just you know, when things just happen and you don't expect it or it just happens. That's the ones that go viral.
Yeah, so true.
Like people just like, right, I'm not putting all my energy to make that happen. Yeah, but it happened, and bam. Yeah, so, and it just looks so natural. Do you know what I mean?
What he's talking about, is like basically at NAS Festival, the last one, someone threw a dinosaur on the stage, like a pet dinosaur, this little thing. So I just started freestyling about it, and we had a big plan. We brought on loads of artists that day, and like new artists and everything else, and it was a big thing. We put loads of time into it, and the thing that went off was the bloody dinosaur. That went viral. Do you know what I mean? And that's just what happens sometimes. It's crazy. And I've done it before. I've been to meetings and planning out loads of stuff, and I've just got to shoot up the road and do a quick freestyle, and the freestyle ends up doing like 3 million views. You didn't even think about. You know what I mean? It's just those natural things are usually the things that pop off.
That's right. The organic things seem to gather more momentum.
They do, man. The things you least expect. Because I mean, did you expect that sort of level of success, or did you know? Because it's been crazy for you, man. Let's be honest. Like you're one of those guys that have really done. You took the music and it still sounds sick. We love it. We love your music, man. Do you know what I mean? But you've taken it into the mainstream in a natural way. Yeah. So like, how's that feel? Like, and was that expected or?
It was definitely not expected. No. Yeah. But it's like it is a culture shock, and it's all happening very, very quickly. So like, there's definitely been moments where I'm really overwhelmed. Yeah. But it's also I'm really excited as well. Of course.
So the mixed emotions.
It's just adjusting to it. Yeah, it is.
Do you think the levels have been raised now because everyone's looking for that next Messi?
I think like people are definitely zoning in more on vocal, drum and bass. That's for sure.
No, but what I mean is you as an artist, like, so when you're in the studio, like what it is like, I know for example, you've got a track coming out which is a proper underground banger because you sent it to me. But are you doing that? Is your thought process? No, I need to do something underground because what it is when you get to do a song that's successful as Messi, then what happens is people are like, well, what's the next? We want the next Messi. It's like, do you see what
I expect the pressure almost.
I don't want to fall into that trap, and I also don't want to like lose sight of where I come from as well, because I was a jump up head to begin with. That's how I started.
Yeah. So is everybody.
Just because of Go and Messi doesn't mean that, now whenever I go in the studio, I'm thinking, I need to make another hit. Yeah. I think, I just want to go in there and enjoy myself. Yeah. And, if something good comes out, then happy days. Yeah. But I think if you go, everyone's different. I personally think if you're going to go in there with that mentality, you're shooting yourself in the foot before you've even started.
Yeah. That's right. It's so mad, isn't it? It's like I've always found over the years the songs that have been written the quickest, like you spend 5-6 hours on it on the vibe, has done better than the songs you spent weeks on.
Oh, it's so true.
And it's like I just don't get. I'm sitting there going, "Oh my god, I spent weeks on this. The snare is absolutely perfect," and then no one gives a shit. And then you go, and they go, "Oh yeah, that song's sick." Like again, the Crossy thing, we'd done that over 2 sessions, like probably done about 8 hours in total, but it was just a vibe. Do you understand what I mean? It's like
when that energy's in the room and it's happening, you're flowing, aren't you?
Yeah. It's mad. So what is your plans in terms of like, have you got plans like lined up with releases? I mean, you don't have to tell us who you're working with, but it'd be great if you could, so we get a little exclusive. But you know, like what's the plans that you've got coming up?
I've got a few things. You know, I want an outlet to be able to sort of do the more underground stuff as well. So I'm launching my label Rabbit Hole, and that is basically my outlet to do that, but also to work with younger up and comers as well, which is what we did last week.
Yeah.
I took 4 other lads, big up Sudley, Benny, Ozone, Diagnostics. We went out and hired an Airbnb in Devon, did a writing camp there, and we left with 10 tracks.
Wicked.
And it was great. It was such a, just a nice environment. Yeah, it was great. And it was nice because it wasn't, we didn't go with that mentality like, we need to make this.
Yeah.
We've got to make something huge.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just have fun
Just
with it.
vibe.
And it was great.
Yeah.
Those writing camps are good, man. I actually did one for like an artist. Actually, the producers were Future Cut. You remember Future Cut?
Yeah.
They do a lot of industry work now with Lily Allen and all. I mean, when you go to their studio, there's platinums on the wall. Do you know what I'm saying? But they obviously come from the Manchester drum and bass scene. Do you know what I mean? So they've got an affinity with it. And I did a writing camp with them for an artist who was signed to Ministry at the time. And it's good, man. You go in and it's just everyone's just throwing in ideas and it's just free flowing. It's like, I think that's a good way forward, man. Do you know what I mean? For people to come together and do stuff. I think you did one with Turno as well, didn't you?
I love the camp thing. I like binging music like that. Like if it's a collaborative thing, I like to just do it like, 4 days, 3 days, whatever, rather than doing, say, dotted sessions. I think I personally work better like that, but everyone's different.
Yeah.
You feed off everyone's good energy and ideas are flowing and it's a good vibe, man.
Yeah.
It's like when we vocaled the 20 seconds, like everyone in the studio together, the vibe in the room was like...
Yeah, it creates a great vocal performance because everyone's going in after each other, the energy in the room,
incredible.
and it just... you can't really sort of package that and put it in a bottle. It's just going to happen in the
Got a
room.
lot of opinions as well, man. When there's loads of people there, you're just like, everyone's just feeling the vibe. You just know it's good, you know?
Yeah,
and
for
it's just
sure, man.
Different people have different, things they can put in or whatever. But when there's like 6-7 man there or whatever, that's opinions straight away, you know what I mean? And everyone's like nodding and
Sometimes it can be good and sometimes it can work against you, can't it? Sometimes you've got almost too many, too many chefs.
Too many cooks.
And it's like you could have, say, there's 6 of you, 3 of you like, this is sick. They're like, I ain't sure.
Yeah, I get that.
Do you know what, though?
Sometimes people have to know their roles, don't they, as well, rather than trying to like, this man's here, this is what he's good at, let's let him do that, rather than him come in and try and do, you know what I mean? If everyone knows their roles, I think it can work quite well.
I think also as well, also as well, I think sometimes people need to sit on things and sometimes you need to digest it because how many times have you listened to a track and gone, don't know, and then like a month later you're like, that tune's sick. And you search a hard drive and you're like, oh my God, I've had that for ages. I didn't even realise it might, I don't know, you might have been out and someone else played it. And this is what I'm saying is like, I always say to people if I'm sending them anything, like listen 7 times.
Yeah, you know, innit?
Shotter's got this beautiful thing. Jabba always gets back, but Shotter doesn't reply.
No, I do.
If he don't reply,
no.
I know he ain't feeling it. Then I hit him again.
If it hits me straight away, I'm straight back on. I'm like, this is bad. Yeah. But if I don't like it or if I don't get it straight away, I won't really say nothing. But I will listen a few more times.
And then what it is, you have to do, where you get the thing on WhatsApp and you highlight it and go, did you listen? Listen again. Listen again.
I feel like you have to listen on the phone with your headphones, through the phone, speakers in the studio, driving in the car.
100%.
You know what I mean? That's how I like to listen now because it's like one tune sounds banging in the studio, you put it on the phone or whatever, vice versa. Do you know what I mean? So
how do you mix? How do you mix that on monitors, headphones? Like how do you?
So I actually prefer doing it with my headphones.
Okay, that's interesting.
But I am forcing myself to use my monitors more.
Yeah.
But I've just changed rooms, so it sounds all different again. But I always check my headphones. Yeah. Always.
See, like Pete Urban Dub, big up Pete. He put me onto a thing called Sonarworks, and anyone I work with, I say get Sonarworks because look. At the end of the day, all our studios are in rooms in our houses or our flats or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Or a little room like this, and they're not. Unless you're going to spend thousands on acoustic treatment, and then you still might not get it right. You know, I've got stuff all over the place, and when I look around, I'm like, I don't even know if that fucking works.
No, I literally the same thing.
I just bought it because someone said get these, and I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
only 20 quid on Amazon.
It can get quite technical, can't it? And I'm just not. I don't know. I'm not that passionate enough to really dive into it and learn about that sort of stuff. I'd rather just sort of either have something like SonarWorks.
Yeah.
Which,
do you have it as well?
No, but Diagnostics at the camp, he put me onto it. He told me about that.
It's so sick. I tell everyone, it's like, I think it's about 300-400 quid.
So what is it exactly?
Right, so SonarWorks, what it is, it's basically when you're producing, you turn it on and it makes your room flat. So there's no bouncing frequency. I mean, don't get me wrong, the sound will still bounce, but what you're hearing is a flat frequency. It's a program you put into the door, So what happens is, I remember I used to send music to Pete and he'd be like, yeah, this is good, but there's no bass. And I'm like, what are you talking about? My studio is like fucking...
rocking.
Bro, it was shaking. And then I'd go in the car and there'd be no bass. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm turning the bass up on the car, which you shouldn't have to. You should be able to leave it all flat. And then, so I went onto SonarWorks, and now when I'm producing, I actually can hear the bass and I can feel it. And then when I turn it off, it sounds a bit distorted. Like it's like, it's like, you know, when like you send me stuff or anyone sends me, what I do is I straight away put it in like Kinetics. Whenever they send me stuff, I put it straight into SonarWorks and I'll go like, yeah, okay, cool. There's too much here, or there's not enough here, because I know that's what Pete done for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? But SonarWorks, honestly, producers, if this is not a paid advertisement or anything, I just want you to make better music and also send it to us. Sweet. Yeah, cool. But anyway, but the thing is like, honestly, I swear by it. It's like, it would be my number one tool in the studio, because it is crazy.
I think that's a good tip. I think what would be interesting as well for some, you know, there's so many producers out there, but look to people like you now and get inspired by you. What would be your tips for them going forward in terms of maybe originality or just studio tips or whatever to kind of get themselves from the bedroom to that next stage kind of thing, man?
I think I would probably just say, like, I mean, it's pretty simple. Just don't overthink it, really. But I say that, and I'm the biggest overthinker. I really am. But music, when I'm making it, I'm not overthinking.
Just
zoning.
It just like relaxes my mind a lot.
Yeah.
But then when I'm outside the studio, I'm overthinking everything. I'm always like a million miles an hour.
I think that's a thing in society now, is overthinking. You know, I just think that's just the way everything's thrown at us.
There's
these
so many
days.
opinions and you know, different outlooks, and all just readily available to be communicated over to you. Like, you know, communication's never been easier now.
Yeah,
true.
But remember, just because someone has an opinion on something doesn't mean it's the right opinion. Like, you know, I give my opinion on SonarWorks, that might not be for everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, different.
But there is one
strokes,
thing.
man,
there is one thing I want to say, and this blew my mind. Was I found out only recently that. I keep forgetting his name. He's done the tune with Skrillex, the one that plays the drums. Oh my God.
Fred again.
Sorry, Fred. That's
who done the tune with Flowdown. Shout out to Flowdown on that, boy.
Killed it. But anyway, Fred again, he actually produces in iPhone earphones.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the beep? Because, what? Are you mad? But do you know what? I spoke to someone else, right, who's like a young producer. And they said to me, I said, oh, how do you mix this down? And the mix down's really good. iPhone headphones, AirPods or whatever. And I went, oh my God. So I thought to myself, well, let me check. And when you check the mix, like you said, about check it in the car on the headphones, I've obviously got the big proper studio headphones. Great, you can hear it properly. But remember, 80% plus of people that are listening to your music are pretty much going to be listening in there. So if you can get it right in there, it should sound right everywhere else, right?
I think it's a great starting point for people. There was a tutor when I was at SSR, which is the School of Sound Recording. He said the same thing.
Really?
So I used to see him with the Apple headphones. Like, are you mixing that down on headphones? And he'd be like, well, yeah, because everyone uses these.
Yeah.
And the same, I seen a mixing engineer, and he said the same thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think definitely worth.
Yeah, no, I that actually blew my mind, because like, you know, we're kind of, you know, you're always kind of steered towards, like, you know, you've got to have the proper gear and you know, the big speakers. And
I heard Timberland mixes on headphones as well, who's like obviously made hit after hit over the years. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's just how you feel comfortable. What you
just, you know what I mean, forms, and the tools of the trade are right there. Everyone's looking for equipment, spending big money and little things like that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So talking about like sort of, just off what Shab said, how do you feel about artificial intelligence, AI?
Yes, because that's been a bit, you must know if you watch our podcast, that's been it cropped up, then we did a whole episode on it.
I'm watching it, like, I don't know, would I? Figure it out. I don't know, it's a tricky one. I mean, obviously, the last thing I think any of us wants is people always just using AI to make music. I agree very much with what you say. I think music is very much like within your soul, and it's a human feeling. But I also understand that maybe if you are in a bit of, if you want to call it writer's block or whatever, you know, your terminology is, but I think it could be maybe helpful to kickstart ideas, but I just think don't get too reliant on it. At the end of the day, it is a machine. And music is a very soulful thing.
What I've noticed as well is some of the VSTs that are out there, they're actually, I didn't know this, it's just, you know, when you like see a new VST come out and then you'd get a review on it, actually like AI is actually powering some of the VSTs that we might be using, not making music for us, but the way it, you know, if you think about it, you know, back in the day, you'd have this big mixing desk and you'd turn the compressor here and it would do, you know, and all this stuff. But now you can like literally look at it and then like you can dial it in on the screen and everything. So there has to be some sort of artificial intelligence in doing that because it's not manually being done. I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And that's where I think I would draw the line. If it comes to a mix down or something and you're trying to get a sound to do something, then use it all day. But if to tell it to actually play a melody, or I want to write a lyric about something I've seen on the telly that's really wound me out, but I can't be bothered to write it. So I'm just going to tell you what my feelings are. Then can you write it, please? Yeah. And someone actually did it. A mate of mine, because he's a bit more pro AI than I am. Rick, old scatter.
So, we put this guy Rick onto. He's a friend of ours, and we put him onto it. Now we're in the group, and I could see him getting so wound up, and he's going, artificial intelligence. Oh, nice one, fancies doing that. And look, because we were discussing it, and you sent the pod in there, didn't you?
I sent the pod for them to watch. Yeah, but what he did, because he's trying to convince me, isn't he? Right. So he basically typed in some stuff, and it sent back a load of bars. It sent back, and I said, bro, them bars are dead, mate. You wouldn't spit them bars. And he goes, yeah, they are, to be fair. But imagine in 10 years. Imagine in 10 years it'll be better.
But do you remember what?
He's just lazy. He's an MC as well, man.
Do you remember that tweet the other day? Right, so I put a tweet up, right? Do you remember? And within seconds, you messaged the group.
I go, you didn't write that, did you? I clocked it. I know, because that's not how he writes. That's not how he writes. So basically, he put in what you wanted to say about Mike Masters, the event, April 1st. And he put it in there. And I could tell I know how he writes, because I've known him for years. So I know that is not how he would write it. It was good, though. It was a good tweet.
So eloquent.
No, don't get it twisted. It was a great tweet, but I just knew it wasn't him.
Because after watching the last episode, I downloaded it on the last day of the camp, and we were just sat and watching the film, and I started having to play around with it. And you can change the AI creativity level, can't you?
I don't know. I haven't gone in that deep, so please tell us.
Yeah. Well, it's got like.
No, I haven't. Are you talking about Chat GPT?
It's got like this AI creativity. Is it
Chat GPT.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you can move up and down, and some of it comes across like really direct, and then if you change it, some of it comes across like really, like you say, like really eloquently.
Yeah.
So I'm reading it. I'm like, this doesn't feel like a machine just wrote that.
Yeah. It's worrying, man.
That's what's a little bit.
Whilst it's good,
shocking, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's out there, so like you said, it's only going to get 10 years. It'll probably be next year.
Yeah.
It's just like.
But why are we? What is the end goal with it?
No, this is what I was thinking the other day. I was thinking at the moment, like if you created that app, you're obviously, I think you're going to make a lot of money. Because the users that will be using it, advertising, you can get whatever they're going to get out of the back of it, they're going to be the guys that will win. And I think we as consumers are going to be really like, oh wow, I can do that and make it sound like Kendrick Lamar. But are we going to be that bothered in 6 months? Or only going to be like a face app? You remember face app when we're all changing our faces to look old and everyone's sending it round and I still use it sometimes for a laugh. But that's just me.
The crying one, remember the crying one?
Yeah, how funny was that?
Up on my finger.
The crying one was brilliant. But again, do you remember everyone was doing that? We was cracking up when we did it.
That was so funny.
It's like once you've heard a lyric in the Boris Johnson voice and then the Kendrick voice, it's like, will it be something that
crazy?
People are going to be like, this is amazing.
It'd be like it's like a bit of a fad.
Yes,
perhaps.
It's like hot right now, but it'll drop off.
Well, I just think everything at the moment is like that. It's like, we've discussed this. Do you think that artists coming through like yourself, do you see yourselves 20, 30 years still like making music, making drum and bass or whatever, if you've branched out to house or whatever? Do you see yourself as this is a long-term career, or is what we kind of find is that or what I'm seeing is there's an artist will come and like blow up and they'll have a good 2 years and then what it is after that they'll either go on to something else, whether it's like writing films or scores or whatever, and they kind of move away from the music. So how many people are going to be there that are coming through now still be here in 10, 20 years time. Do you know what I mean? And do you think that's something, as you sit right now, remember 6 months time, it could be something else might pop up and take you in a different direction. But would you like to have a longevity in a career?
Of course, mate. I'm living my dream, but it's you know, it's like so overwhelming because, like I said, it happens so quickly. So you do have to kind of like snap back to reality and reflect. Like that's one of the things I'm really trying to be mindful of at the minute. Is like just taking a bit of time to actually sit there and absorb what's been going on the last weeks are just flying so quick at the moment. It's, you know, and you're like, wow, it's been like
DJ world, isn't it?
Yeah,
and I still haven't done what I thought I was going to do. Just sit there and reflect.
Do you know what? I said this to. I remember when we did the O2 with
the Sound Clash we did.
We did the
Red Bull Sound Clash.
Red Bull
Culture Clash, sorry.
Red Bull Culture Clash.
Insane.
So when we
what
done
an insane moment. We were all coming out. Like we was with the UK Garage Allstars, wasn't we? And it was Wiz Khalifa had a team there. It was a big dancehall one. You'd probably know. I can't remember their names.
It was.
I know.
They were big, bro. They, in terms of reggae and dancehall.
No, not Black Cat. It was who was it? It was the Japanese sound, wasn't it?
They had loads of dubstep.
Mighty Crown, and there was
Mighty Crown. In terms of reggae, they had everything you would want. And then we was with the UK Garage guys, and they brought us out to rep drum and bass, basically. So it was me, Stormin, Shabs, and Skibber, and we come out there and I just started gunning Wiz Khalifa, man.
You went
black and yellow.
But you know,
I like the song. It was just, it's a clash.
It's funny because you see that
I know your point. Now we'll get back to
that event. I never get goosebumps. Like I never get like nervous. Like at shows, festivals, anything. 30 years plus or whatever. There's been times I have, but that one there, when I come out, bro, I remember my legs nearly went. I ran out on stage. I was like, I was alright after. You get me? But it was so, I don't know, because it was like 40,000 people, right, or 35.
It was sold out. O2. So whatever the O2 is capacity, it was sold out.
That was the first crowd where, because it weren't DNB. And
that was but they went off.
It went off, but like just the build up and everything was just like. It was, wow, I was wicked. I remember we standing at the back.
And what Shab was saying, I think
the same about that was Will and Soul. Shouts, Chasing Status. It's like I had to ask them about that as well. You know, it's like,
that was a nervy moment.
He did all these dubs and that, like specifically for it, and I just, I was intrigued to like, how long were you prepping for that for, and like, how was it? And they both said it was if one of the, if not the best events that they've ever done.
The artist wise, it was so. I think that's the reason, because there was so much artists there. And there was so much genres of music and different people. So it was like representing that. And
it was a representation of music culture.
That's what it was.
You know,
it was a great moment and experience.
We do, definitely.
Yeah, Red Bull Culture Clash needs to come back.
Big time.
But I think I know what you're saying. So what you was going to say about the point of it.
So what I said, when we were standing there, me and Mackie were just about to go on, and I turned around to Mackie and I went, have a look and take this moment in, because this is the stage. Beyonce's been on here. Justin Timberlake, is that his name? Justin Timberlake.
Sorry, Drake, all of them. Man.
All of these big artists have been on this stage, and we are on this stage. Never ever dreamed we'd ever be on this stage. I remember saying to Fates once at Westfest, and I put my arm around him and I was like, bruv, look out at the crowd, take this moment in. This might be the biggest stage you ever step onto. Not realising, well, up to that moment, it was the biggest stage.
Atmosphere-wise, and the way it was and the way it was set out. Because I was backstage and So Solid was there, Mega Man, big up them guys there.
Big up Swiss.
And I was with them, man, there, and trust me, like, the nerves were racking backstage, because it was like everyone was kind of just queuing in to go in or whatever. But
certain times.
Everyone, I was looking at all
but also as well,
nervous,
it was timing as well.
Crowd as well.
But the thing is with that, there was a different element. See, when we step on stage, you kind of like, you're like, mic check, where we're preparing everything. You got that moment. We had to be in on time. You know what I mean?
Super scheduled.
It was proper scheduled. It was like, quite military operation. So big up Majestic, who was a massive part of putting the whole UKG, and Luck and Neat, obviously.
You got them guys, so solid.
They absolutely smashed it, so solid in that. But yeah, I will say this to you, and I'll say this to anyone, any artist, whether you're a DJ, MC, singer, whatever, when you're standing there, just before you go on, just take it all in, because as I'm talking to you now, I'm picturing me standing in that O2 arena, not here in this podcast studio. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I do.
And I always believe you have to do that, because you have to remember all of these things we do are like snapshots, they're moments in time. Do you know what I mean? And you've got to remember them.
No, 100%. Like if I go back 2 years ago to my first gig, it was at E1 Allstars, and we'd just come out of lockdown as well. I don't think I looked at the crowd once. I was that nervous and just so terrified.
Yeah.
But what I used to do as well is I'd always have at least a beer or two to settle my nerves.
He's a nerd.
And then I got booked to do this tour from August to December, and it was in prisms and attics around the country. It's a little bit
They was all sold out, weren't they?
To the rave scene. It was a bit more of like a club scene kind of thing. But I just having sort of realised, like, not taking it in because I was drinking and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought I'm going to do this sober. And do you know what? That period between August and December of being sober, I started remembering all sorts of stuff. Stuff that I've not thought about for years.
Yeah.
I'd just be sat there and it's like, oh, come on, I forgot that even happened.
Yeah. I mean, it can. The thing is like, I understand. I know loads of artists that will, before they go on, they'll have a little. I mean, you have a Magnum, didn't you?
Yeah.
He has a Magnum every show. You know what I mean?
You know, that little drink, tonic wine.
Yeah.
Shout out to Magnum. Just Juice are doing well with the sponsorship, but Magnum, you need to get in contact, man. Put a little email up the front.
Me, I have a water, Evian, whatever water that can come my way.
You're enjoying a bit of champ sometimes, man.
Oh yeah. If Shabba's about, he pops one. You know what I mean? Like definitely.
It's nice for the vibe, isn't it? Like,
it is.
But I would say just don't overdo that, innit?
Yeah.
Because you get lost in the sauce otherwise sometimes, man. Do you know what I mean?
I just pick my moments now. Like I'll look at like the diary and think, all right, this one I'll have a drink, but this one I'm not going to have a drink. Just to try and sort of, so I know what I'm walking into. Kind of.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, man.
Wicked. Well, God, that time has run out.
It has run out, but I just want to say, man, yo, bruv, big up to you because coming down here today and to talk to us on our podcast speaks volumes about your character and where you're going to go as a human, because you've had big chart hits, and sometimes when that happens, people either get gassed or they get like in a different, and their management won't let them do things like this and things like that. So for you to come here, man, we fully respect it. Conversation's been great, man.
For having me, man. It's sick to fucking be here, and to be honest, I love this podcast.
Just
keep doing it, all right?
We'll get him down again.
Yeah, we will have to definitely get you down again, that's for sure.
And we appreciate you taking the journey as well, man. We know it's a bit far out to come.
Just so you know, he texted me at 5:30 this morning, and I was like, fuck, you know. Like, and I remember waking up for a piss, and I was like, I'm not going to message him now, because if I do, I'm going to be awake for the rest of the day. And I went back to sleep, and I messaged you at 8 this morning going, nice one, brother. But listen, this is Life and Laughter. Big love from us. Big love to our special guest, Goddard.
Respect, man.
Respect.
Guys.
Please don't forget, like, subscribe, all that other stuff. Cheers.
There's definitely an MC locked in there somewhere.
SaSaSaS, beats and bars, fresh. Don't know we're heavy. The best of the best of the best. So awesome if they're ready. Yes. SaSaSaS, beats and bars, fresh. Don't know we're heavy. The best of the best of the best. So awesome if they're ready. Yes.